Daniel Sohege is the director of human rights organisation Stand for All. Daniel joins me now. Morning to you.
Good morning, Lisa. Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Firstly, then, for you and your organisation, should these men, many of them potentially vulnerable, many who have come potentially too from difficult backgrounds and situations, be put on a barge like this at all, rather than on dry land?
Absolutely not, and we firmly believe that nobody should be being placed on these barges. As has been seen, they are completely unsuitable. This particular barge was actually decommissioned by the Dutch from the same purpose because of safety concerns. This government decided not to heed those warnings and actually double the capacity of the barge. So we would not recommend this for anybody at all.
Let's see what some of the front page headlines are saying on it this morning. For example, front of the Telegraph, Prime Minister demands end to migrant hotels as barge plan is delayed. Front of the Guardian, though, asylum seeker barge may be death trap, which is quite a stark headline there. Firefighters warn pressure on PM grows as cruel and inhumane plan hits that fresh delay. And it's the FBU's Assistant General Secretary, Ben Selby, who said he's written to the Home Office now about claims of overcrowding and access to fire exits after members raised concerns. And it's a good point, isn't it? I mean, goodness, when you are at sea, as it were, in a barge like this, it could throw up all sorts of issues.
Absolutely. We're talking about more than 500 people on the barge, narrow corridors, there's only two main exits. The communal area to actually congregate in is blocked by a heavy gate and has been warned it's not even large enough for the number of people. So the number of safety concerns with this with just fire alone. Now, reportedly, there's no life jackets on board either. Now, whether they're jumping into the middle of the ocean or into the port, there's still a risk that if someone's going in the water, they need a life jacket because if they can't swim, the outcome is still the same. This is a potential death trap for people.
Just remind us, though, when it comes to 8 other nations also dealing with an influx of migrants, be it by so-called legal or illegal means, are barges like this being used? How are other countries coping?
We're seeing the use of not necessarily barges, but cruise ships has been commonly it's been referenced that Scotland's using them. Now, these are very different situations because they're far more temporary. The government has said that this would be temporary, but they said that about the use of hotels, and we've seen people crammed 10, 11 to a room for years now. But the actual location and the situation with this barge is that they've taken what was meant to house about 222 people and increased that to 500 plus. So they're actually making an unsafe situation even more unsafe, as opposed to even just using a standard cruise ship, which has been used in Scotland for Ukrainian refugees, for example.
Do you accept, though, that the government's argument is correct, that more and more people coming here on small boats, making that often dangerous crossing across the channel, just can't go on being placed in hotels, which are meant, obviously, for other uses? I mean, why shouldn't people be able to book a hotel for a holiday or an overnight stay? And many of them are increasingly now full.
This is a situation of the government's own making, though. I mean, we aren't seeing levels that we saw 20 years ago of people seeking asylum in the UK. But 20 years ago, we were dealing with community support schemes. We'd have properly invested in asylum system, and we were processing applications effectively. Fewer than half of asylum applications last year came from channel boat crossings. So the government's using the small boats to make a huge, big story and headline grabbing. But this isn't where the issue is. The issue is that the government's not processing applications in a fast enough or more efficient way. If they were doing that, they wouldn't need these levels of accommodation because people would be passing through the system. It's also a lot more effective for them to do that, but it doesn't grab the headlines in the same way.
Do you think then this latest government policy on tackling migrants crossing the channel is going the way of the failed Rwanda flights?
Absolutely, because they're not focusing on the key thing, which is actually why are people seeking asylum in the UK specifically? What are their protection needs? And how can we ensure that we're getting those people through the asylum system properly, through that faster? The 6 month, people waiting more than 6 months, has grown dramatically under this government. despite the fact they've increased the number of caseworkers, or until recently, because they've reportedly removed one of the units for processing asylum seekers to focus on immigration detention. So again, they're making the situation worse. But this is a situation that they could have been handling from the start.
And just finally, for all those people, those local people in Portland, in Dorset, who've been staging protests and demonstrations about the use of this particular barge, do you understand their concerns? I mean, they've got lots of worries over infrastructure overload and things like that.
Absolutely. For local communities, there are serious concerns that they're facing about this. A large part of it is that the Home Office has run roughshod over local authorities, pushing through plans, and we've seen this with the use of RAF camps as well, without consulting with the locals. They haven't talked to them about what the needs of asylum seekers are anyway, so people don't know necessarily what they're facing as a community, and that can be scary. So again, the Home Office has just completely taken over from local authorities here, and that is understandably going to cause concerns in local communities.
Good to speak to you this morning, Daniel. Cheer over the issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Daniel Sohege, Director of Human Rights Organisation.